Hello, this is Will Durfee, and I'm going to show you how to model the part that's shown in Creo 6. We'll do a rendering of it, and we'll do a 3-view drawing of it. The first thing I'm going to do is set the working directory. My current working directory is for a different exercise, so I'm going to go back, look at my folders, and this exercise 2 is the one where I'm going to right-click on the mouse and set the working directory. Now when I click on working directory, I'll be able to see all the parts for this exercise. It's always a good idea to create a folder for each new part or project that you're working on. Let's take another look at the part we're trying to model, because how you set it up in Creo often requires some strategy. So what we see when we look at it is this bottom part would do nicely as a base part, so we can see that if we can draw this shape with a radius at each end and then some tangent lines connecting it and then extrude that, that would be a nice base shape. Then on top of that, this is a cylinder, so we can extrude a cylinder onto the base plate. And then the pin is another cylinder, so we can extrude that cylinder all onto the base plate. Now this part is pointing up, and it's natural to think about when you look down from the top that this would be a top view. When you look from the front, this would be the front view. And for that reason, when we draw this base shape, rather than drawing it on the front plane like we normally do, we'll draw it on the top plane. And then the other thing we're going to do is to make sure that this initial radius, the center of it, is on the intersection of the planes, because that'll make it just a little bit easier to reference the cylinder and the pin too. So let's go ahead and make this base part as an extrusion. So I'll go New, we're doing a new part, and we'll call it Exercise 2. Then click OK, we'll use the default template. And then I don't see any planes come up, and the reason is that I have them disabled up in the menu bar. So if I click and then select all, now my planes appear. So now we're going to do an extrusion, so I click on Extrude and then highlight the, remember we wanted the top plane, so now I'm going to highlight the top plane, click on that. Nothing was coming up because I hadn't registered that I clicked on it, Extrude. So let's go back, click on Extrude. Now you know you're in the Extrude tool. It's showing you at the top the Extrude tool, and then down on the bottom message area it says the sketching plane where you want to sketch. Now I highlight the top plane and click, and we're in the sketcher. So I go up into the sketch view, and now I'm looking straight at the sketcher. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's take a look again at the part we're trying to render. It's a radius, a bigger radius with radius 2, and then another radius of radius 1, and the center point of the distal radius to the center point of the proximal radius is 6. So let's go see how we can do that. Okay, so I want a radius, and the way to think about that is that radius is part of a circle. So that's where construction mode is going to help you. If I click in construction mode, everything comes up as dotted lines, and there are lines, they end up being lines that we can reference to. So now if we click on circle, we're going to put a circle at the origin, and we'll click, and then we'll hit escape, and then change that circle to be, well, let's see, so this to be 2. Okay, one of the things you want to check is that it comes up as a radius. If it comes up as a diameter, you can click on the dimension, and then you can check this one to toggle between radius and diameter, but we want it as a radius. Okay, so now I hit refit to zoom in, move the dimension a little bit closer, hit refit again to zoom in, and we've got our circle of 6. Then if I do shift and middle mouse button, I can slide it over to the left because we want to see more geometry on the right. Okay, so that's going to be what's going to eventually form the radius at the left hand end. Now I'm going to do another circle, and I'm going to put it on that x-axis, then click, drag out a little bit, click, and then hit escape to finish the circle operation. And that one I want to change to a radius of 1. Okay, so now we've got 2 construction circles, and the last thing we want to do is those centers are separated by 6, so I go in to the dimension that shows how far they're separated and double click the dimension and enter 6. The construction lines are ready, and now we can place the actual lines where we want. So we go out of construction mode, and then the first thing we're going to do is draw the lines that are tangent between the big circle and the little circle. So we go up to the line, and rather than line chain, you click on line tangent. And then you'll see the circle will highlight, and if you click on the circle, now the line is a tangent to that circle. And then if you go hover over the second circle, then it'll snap to where it's tangent to the second circle. And then you can click, and then that's the top line. Now we do the same thing on the bottom line because we're still in line mode. And then hover over the big circle, which is the construction mode circle, click. Now we've got a line that's tangent. So it's not going the way we want. So hit escape and then go back up to line mode and then click on the circle again, more where we want it to go, and then it'll come off in the right direction. Then go back to the little circle and it'll snap to the tangent. We click and then hit escape to get out of line mode. So that takes care of the tangent lines. Now we have to draw the 2 radius that we want to connect, radii that we want to connect the tangent lines. So that's going to be an arc. And in the arc there's several options. There's center and ends, there's 3 tangent, concentric, conic, and 3-point tangent ends. We're going to do center and ends because we know the center of the circle and we know where the beginning and the end of the arc wants to be. So now we go down and click on the center of the big circle and then click on the end of the tangent line, and now that arc is constrained to go around the circle, and we go all the way around till it snaps to the end of the bottom tangent line and click, and it's in place. We're still in arc mode, so now we can do the same thing to the little circle. So we find the center of the little circle, click, and then click on the end of the tangent line. Now it's following me around the circle, go all the way around to the bottom tangent line, click, and then hit escape to get out of the arc mode. So now we have a complete closed circle, radius 2 on one end, radius 1 on another end. I'll just move this radii outside. The positions of the dimensions in sketch mode have nothing to do with the positions of the dimensions in the drawings, but it's just nice to get them out of the middle so you can see where they are. That completes the sketch. So now we can click OK, and then looking back at the drawing, we see that the thickness of that is 1. So I go up and change the depth to 1, return, and then click OK, and then do a Control D, and there's our part all nicely arranged the way that we expect it to be. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach this cylinder that is coming up out of the base piece. Now I could extrude it from the top of the base piece, But this is where you want to examine the drawing a little bit more carefully. And what the designer did with this drawing, their design intent, was that the height of the cylinder was 2 from the bottom of the base part. So I could extrude it from the top of the base part and give it a dimension of 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2, so that would be fine. But then when I came to do the drawing, the dimension that would pop up would be the dimension of 1, and I want that dimension of 2 to come up because that's what the designer cared about. So what we'll do is we'll extrude it instead from the bottom of the base part. So we're going to extrude a circle into a cylinder, and it'll go up from the bottom of the base part, and we'll go up by a dimension 2. So let's go ahead and see how that is done. We go up and we select extrude, and then it's asking us where the placement is, so I rotate the part underneath and then hover over until the bottom surface is highlighted, and then click. It's generally a good idea to, before you click, to see what's highlighted, because there's multiple entities that can be under the mouse, and you just have to make sure that you're selecting the right one. So again, back up to sketch view, and now I'm looking straight at it. So now I can go in and click circle, and then it'll snap to the center, and then move out and click, and then hit escape to exit circle mode. And then this is at a diameter of 2.14. Back on the drawing it says the diameter is 2.5, so I'll double click on the dimension, enter 2.5, and that's it for the sketch for the extrusion. So now I'll click OK. Alright, so let's spin the part around and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got it coming out the wrong end. We want it to come out the top. So if you go up to the extrude or the protrusion or extrusion toolbar and then do the little flip icon, it'll flip it and it'll go up the top. Okay, but now it's a hole and not a pin. So what happened there? What happened there is that this was a remove material operation. So with the extrusion, you can either remove material or add material. We want to add material, so I'll click that and have it flip, and now it adds material. And you see the little pink arrow that shows the direction from the sketching plane that it's adding the material. And I'll control middle mouse button or shift middle mouse button, we'll slide it down a little bit. And we want that to be a height of 2, so double click, change it to 2, and enter, spin it around. That's looking about what we want. So click OK, then Control D to reorient it, and we are all done with that cylinder that is sitting on top of the base part. The last thing we need to do is to place the pin. The pin again is going to be a cylinder that we extrude with added material. It's coaxial with the other two parts, so that'll make it easy. And then we see that the designer wanted that pin to be a height of 3 above the bottom of the base part. So again, we will extrude it from the bottom of the base part. So let's see how that works. Go up and click on extrude. It's asking me to select the sketching surface. So again, spin the base part around and then click the bottom surface. That'll be the sketch plane. Click on sketch view, looking straight at it. Go to circle, snap to the middle, click, drag out, click, hit escape to exit circle mode, move the dimension out, double click, enter the diameter of 0.75, click OK. Then that's looking good for the sketch plane. Click the checkbox OK at the top to exit the sketcher mode. Then we'll spin it around. We see that it's coming out the wrong side. The pink arrow is going away, so we want to change the pink arrow to go the other way. And then once again, it's remove material. So we click it to add material, and then the height of the pin we change from 0.75 to 3. Hit enter, and then the pin is looking just a little bit high, so let's see what's going on there. Oh, that's because we entered 30, so let's change the 30 to 3. That's looking better. And then it's all looking good, so we click OK to exit the extrusion tool, and then Control D to orient our part. And let's turn off the planes so we can see the part, make sure that the spin center is off, and we can take a look at the part. It's looking just the way we want and looking just like that initial drawing that we were going off of. So the next step is to do the drawing, so we'll go ahead and we'll make the 3-view engineering drawing of this part. Before we do that 3-view drawing, very important to save what you have. So Control S to save, click the window, Control S, keeping the same name, and then the exercise part already exists, continue anyways, so yes. So we're good to go there. Now let's go ahead and do the drawing. We go up to the top, we select new. This is going to be a new drawing. We'll name it exercise 2, and we'll use the default template, and then I'm going to select the A-size drawing and then click OK. And then we've got an A-size drawing, and we've got the 3 views, the front view, the top view, and the right side view. And again, this is what we expect to be the top view from looking at the original drawing. This we expect to be the front view, and the reason it comes out that way is because of how we set up the part in terms of that initial sketch being on the top plane. Okay, these parts look a little small, so we'll go down to the scale, double click, and we'll try it's right now 0.25, so let's try 0.5, see how that looks. And that's looking pretty good. Let's just try a 0.75 and see how that looks. 0.75. Okay, that's looking a little big, so let's go back to 0.5. Okay, going to go up and unlock the views, and then move the top view just a little bit over to the right. Go, and we're going to move the right side view just a touch over to the right, and then we're going to move the front view down just a little bit, and then I'm going to move the front view over to the right just a little bit. Okay, that's looking about right. And we're placing all this. Actually, I'm going to move this guy to the right. The reason I'm nudging these is I'm going to put a bunch of dimensions over to the left of the front view. So I just want to nudge that front view a little bit over to the right. And that's looking pretty good. Okay. Next step coming up is to put that nice little 3D view in the top right corner, which is really helps the viewer kind of get a general sense of what the part's all about. So general view. Click OK to this dialog box, and then click about where I want it to be. And then the scale's a little bit big, so let's go custom scale 0.5. Let's try 0.25 and apply. And that's a little bit small, so maybe 0.3. Let's try that. That's about right. Then I want to go to View Display, then Display Style, and do the No Hidden. And then apply, and then OK. And I'm going to nudge that just a little bit over to the right, and maybe see how it looks a little bit up. And then that should be about right. Okay. Now the next step is to put on the dimensions. For dimensions, we go to Annotate, and then Show Model Annotations. And then we got the dimensions, show model dimensions, and now it's a question of clicking on the features and the views that we want the dimensions to go. So I want the 2 radii dimensions to be in this top view, so I'm going to select the not the inner circle diameters because I want those to be on the bottom view, but I'm going to select the radius, and then everything dimension that was connected to this outside circle pops up, which is the radius of the left side, the radius of the right side, and the distance in between. So we want all those to show. Click Apply. Now let's tackle the two added parts, the added cylinder and the added pin. So click on the added cylinder. Its two dimensions come up, the diameter and the height above the base. So that's good. So we'll apply those two, and then click on the pin, and its two pop up. Don't worry where they're positioned right now. We'll fix that later. And then check and check and apply. And then I think we are good to go. And now it's just a question of placing the dimensions. I do see that we are missing one dimension, which is the thickness of the bottom part. So let's go back to the dimension tool. Not the dimension tool, but back to the show model annotations, then the dimension. And then when we clicked on this part in the top view, the thickness didn't come up as a dimension because that can't be shown in the bottom view. So we're going to want it to be in the bottom view. So if you click on here, there it comes up over here. If instead we clicked over here, it would come up over to the right side. Let's just temporarily put it on the right side, then I'll show you how to move it over to the left side, to the front view. So we want to keep this dimension, apply, and we are good to go. Okay, now the final step is to move the dimensions around to where we want them to do. So let's click on this radius and move it around, and that looks about right. And then we'll click on this second radius and move it around. And you know, you don't want it pointing straight out. It actually looks nicer if it's the leader line has a little turn to it. And then this 6, going to place just a little bit closer. You don't want the 6, definitely don't want it inside the part. The only thing that should go inside the part are the extension lines, but the dimension line and the number should never go inside the part. So let's, right about there, looks pretty good. Okay, now let's deal with the bottom part. We'll put the two diameters up on the top side. So let's get that 0.25, and that'll tuck up right about here. And then the 0.75 will tuck up right about here. Okay, so now we've got the extension lines of the 0.75 going through the other dimensions. So we want to reverse the order of those two dimensions because you don't want those extension lines running right through the number. So let's move that 0.25 up high and the 0.75 down low, and let's put the 0.75 over on the right hand side. And we'll tuck it down a little bit closer, tuck this one down a little bit closer. I suppose we could match the two, put the 0.25 outside. Whether you put the numbers outside or inside doesn't matter all that much. We'll put them on the outside for now. Okay, then we've got the two heights, and then we're going to put the height of the base part on that front view. So let's go over here to the 1. Click on the 1 in the dialog box, click on Move View, highlight the front view so it pops over to the front view. Now we'll just move these 3 so they don't clash against each other. 2 is there. Let's move the 3 will be further out. The 1 will be the closest in. And that 1 is looking a little crowded in that space, so I'm going to stick the 1 on the outside. And then the 2 will go about there, and the 3 will go about there. And that is looking pretty good. I'm just checking against the drawing. Let's go and take a look at the original drawing and make sure that we've got all the dimensions. Here's the original drawing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dimensions. In our engineering drawing, our 3-view engineering drawing, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have the same number of dimensions, and not only that, the dimensions in our drawing match the design intent of the designer. Our drawing's all done. You can go up to File, then Save As, and then Quick Export PDF to do a PDF. I'm going to show you one more feature though. If you have a lot of dimensions and you're not quite certain exactly how to place them or where to place them, there is a nifty tool that can help you figure out where to put the placement of the dimensions that follows conventional practice. So that's up in the Annotate toolbar. Way over on the right under Edit is Clean Up Dimensions. So if you click that, then the Clean Dimensions dialog box comes up. And it's asking you, if you look down at the bottom, select a view or individual dimensions to clean. So I'm going to highlight this whole region, and then click OK, and it's going to adjust all the dimensions highlighted in color. So I'll click Apply, and it's done a couple of things. It's moved around the top diameter dimensions, but it did a very nice job at the bottom of spacing out very evenly the side dimensions. So I'm going to keep those, but I don't like what it did to the top dimensions, particularly this 0.75 that's running into this extension line. So I'm just going to move that number slightly to the left. And whether or not you go with how it is this way or how we had it before, that's really your judgment about what looks good. So that cleanup dimension tool can be a handy one if you've got a lot of dimensions and you just want to have it system take care of where they're placed automatically. That completes exercise 2. Thank you for watching.